333390 y descubre la diferencia con Comiso Meat.
En Moratalla entendemos lo que se siente estar ahogado en deudas. Crearemos la mejor solución para usted y lo ayudaremos durante el proceso hasta que esté libre de deudas. 416-784-0904. Administradores de propuestas y bancarrotas.
CHHA 1610 AM es música, cultura, servicios comunitarios y más.
CHHA 1610 AM. More voices 24 hours through. Programming continues.
I am Fortunato Rao, host of Labor News since 1974 with dedication. On CHHA Radio 1610 AM, the voice of the community. 1 hour of useful information.
Yet what force on earth is weaker than the feeble strength of one? But the union makes us strong.
Welcome to another thrilling episode of Labor News program. My name is Gianni Monti, and alongside with my son, Gianpaolo Monti, we will be your hosts for this evening informative broadcast. In addition to our regular radio audience, we extend a warm welcome to all of you tuning through YouTube or any other available media platform. So welcome, guys, and I hope you will enjoy this program that Gianpaolo and I are going to be putting together. So Labor News is brought to you in collaboration with the radio station CHHA 1610 AM Voces Latinas, which offers a variety of programs that honor the vibrant cultural diversity found here in Canada. Labor News represents a unique initiative that reflects the vision set forth over 50 years ago by our founder, Cavaliere Fortunato Rao. The program provides essential information about labor unions, enabling the workforce to understand how these organizations can improve their workforce, to understand how these organizations can improve the condition and the benefits for their families. So, under the guidance of our founder, Cavaliere Fortunato Rao, the Labor News program aims to highlight the benefits that Labor News offers, including access to training programs, which we have quite a few. And of course, we have pension and benefits plan. And importantly, of course, higher wages. Furthermore, unions negotiate a variety of additional benefits, such as overtime, compensation, and travel allowance, which is part of the package, and over and above parental leave, which is one of the many more benefits that the unions can negotiate in behalf of the members. So our program covers a wide selection of subjects behind labor news. We tackle several significant issues that are crucial for our audience to remain well informed, including but not limited to government policies, both domestically and globally, important decision from the Ontario Labour Relations Board, employment laws, human rights cases, workplace safety issues. Sometimes we may include sports-related material that appeals to a wide range of viewers. Right, Gianpaolo?
Absolutely.
So tonight, the main topic, we start with Gianpaolo, sports, latest information about what the Leafs are doing. Then we follow up with some hot topics, which I'm going to explode tonight. And it's about the attack that we're getting from our friend in the South to undermine the unions. And then we may add the Ontario minimum wages that has been approved. And then from then on, we'll see how things go. So, Gianpaolo, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about sports, especially our Leafs?
Well, that's all we can talk about nowadays. But right now, all I can say is the last time the Leafs played, yesterday, the Leafs hosted the Florida Panthers, the hot Florida Panthers
Ah,
team, last night they came up on top with a good 3-2 win. So the Leafs have been showing really good signs of a upcoming playoff team. So that brings them to a record of 46 wins, 25 losses, and 4 overtime losses, which is their record up to now, and that's putting them in first place in the Atlantic Division.
okay. Tell me something, Gianpaolo. I've been waiting. I don't know how many years. I lost track. I think it's over 60 for sure. The last time I remember that Toronto had a Stanley Cup
Was when you came to Toronto, when you came to Canada.
That's right, 1966.
Yes.
So, what chance do we have to have a hope for another Stanley Cup? I think we're due. Come on.
No comment.
Yeah. So
No,
it's going to
just
be
because
another year.
that takes all the fun out of it.
Oh, for real.
Well, the
I
part of
can't-
being a Leaf fan, for me personally, is the disappointment in the playoffs.
Oh man, no, I
But-
can't handle.
but
I
every
cannot
year-
handle disappointments.
Every year we get to this
Sorry.
point and we say, you know what? There's the chance. This team, no, but you
This
know what?
day-
We
this
haven't-
time is
in,
it.
in all fairness and all joking aside, we in respect to a good team, we haven't had a good team like this in a long time. A great coach, two good goalies. We've never finished first.
Well, Gianpaolo, I heard many times before the 5-year program is going to put us who knows where. Then the 5-year, 3 years, and time has gone by so much. At the end of the day, I don't understand if the Toronto Maple Leaf is serious about bringing in a winning team that is actually going to make Toronto whole again.
But this is the best part. How could anybody say in 5 years we're going to win the Stanley Cup?
I heard that one before. It was said.
I mean,
And the coach, I don't even, you remember the coach that was involved? And we spent a lot of money for him. And then 5 years went by. And at the end, we were worse off than when we first started.
all the coaches aside, it's a goal that every team has is to win the Stanley Cup. It's one of the
60
hardest.
years,
It's one of the hardest trophies to win.
Okay.
So, well, anyway, with only 7 games left in the season, the Leafs are going to play at home again this Saturday night against the Columbus Blue Jackets. So hopefully the Leafs can get another win there and keep the progress going to keep that first place and keep the home team at home
Keep
advantage.
the lights on
Yeah,
before they go play golf.
absolutely. So as of right now, the playoff picture looks that the Leafs, as of right now, are playing the Ottawa Senators in the first round. So no Florida, no Boston, none of that stuff.
Ottawa, eh?
We're going to play Ottawa, a nice team that hasn't made the cup playoffs in about, I think they haven't been in the playoffs for 12 years now. So they're going to be a very hungry team and a very strong team.
And
so
of course,
it'll be a great first round anyway.
Well, anyway, nevertheless,
Go Leafs, go.
Let's do it.
So now back to our show. We now turn our attention to troubling news regarding labor issues that warrant our collective concern. All of us should be concerned. The most recent communication regarding union activities has been provided through an email from the American Federation of Labor and Congress of Industrial Organizations, commonly referred to as AFL-CIO. This edition focuses on the theme of restoring federal bargaining rights now.
So this is basically in America, in the United States. This is what's happening there right now. Okay. Yeah.
So I will review the email from the AFL-CIO team dated April 2nd, 2025 this year, obviously, prior to providing my comments.
Yeah, just a couple of days ago.
So Representative Jared Golden, D. Maine, and Brian Fitzpatrick are Pennsylvania. Just introduce about
one is Democratic and the other one is Republican.
there. Yeah, that's what the D.
So these are two different.
The Democratic,
Senate.
the Democratic of Maine and the Republican of
so they're
Pennsylvania.
teaming up. So that's good to see. Good to hear, actually.
So it was just introduced. They just introduced a bipartisan bill in Congress that would nullify Trump's executive order in stripping the right to collectively bargain from hundreds of thousands of federal employees.
For real, eh?
So Team AFL-CIO goes on to say, it's time for Congress to hear from supporters of working people on a bill that will help working people across the country. Will you make a call asking your representatives to support the Protect America's Workforce Act?
Yeah, so they're asking for all the members in the United States and actually even Canada if we can, but we don't have much pull on that. They do have to make this call. It's important, so they have to get involved. Members cannot ignore the situation. It's really, really grave. Yeah, so, we do what we can from here.
Well, that's just it. If we have the information and the right knowledge.
Yeah. If there are any Americans listening, okay, so please do make the call to the to your leader there, whatever MP, no, what do you call it?
You want to make your calls to your Congress.
Congress, that's right. Yeah, it's a little bit different here. Okay. So anyway, make the call and let's hope because united we can do something. Divided, we're not going anywhere.
Well, make your call. Do your part. Do whatever you can. Anyway, so remember, more than 70% of Americans and nearly 9 in 10 young people support unions.
That's amazing.
No one voted to attack the freedom to organize with our coworkers for a better life. That's why every member of Congress, Democrat or Republican, should be willing to take a stand in support of our fundamental rights by backing this critical legislation. The AFL-CIO are urging everyone to make a call to Congress today and urge your representative to support the Protect America's Workforce Act to overturn the President's Federal Workers Union executive order.
Oh, that's the number, Gianpaolo.
Yeah, so the phone number is 844-896-5059. That's 844-896-5059. It's time to turn up the pressure, and thank you for adding your voice. Solidarity to AFL-CIO.
So I mean that's great. So Gianpaolo, why should we be concerned? I mean, how does that concern us from something that is happening in the United States?
Well, because they're the bigger, they're our neighbor. So whatever happens to them will affect us tremendously.
Well, yes, also
the trickle down effect.
Yeah, no, because we also share international unions. If something happens to an international in the USA, most likely is going to it's going to reflect over here as well. So all the unions. I remember in the Mike Harris days when Mike Harris, did all those anti-union legislation. All the unions got together. I remember in Queens Park in a very cold day, in a very beautiful day because there was over 250,000 people demonstrating against the Mike Harris legislature laws that undermine the unions. And we made our point. And that was the best thing that I've seen, the unions acting as one. So, and I'm almost sure that if Trump keeps doing what he's doing, he's going to have all the unions getting together and unify with one front to attack this unfairness. As the show will progress, we'll tell you why we think this is a huge concern. So let us examine the evidence that illustrates how Trump and employers are confronting and contesting the constitutionality of the National Labor Relations Board. Okay, so let's start with the federal government, which is Trump, and his attack to the National Labor Relations Board. So anyway, the National Labor Relations Board, to clarify the function, that was founded for is an independent agency of the federal government of the United States that enforces U.S. labor laws in relation to collective bargaining and unfair labor practice. Under the National Labor Relations Act of 1925, the National Labor Relations Board has the authority to supervise election for labor unions representation and to investigate and remedy unfair labor practice. So they have a very important function. Unfair labor practice may involve union-related situation or instances of protected concerned activities. So anything that is wrong, that is wrongdoing, the National Labor Relations Board has the ability to intervene and make not recommendation and dictate how things are going to go. So the National Labor Relations Board is governed by 5-person board, a vice board person, and the general counsel, all of whom are appointed by the president with the consent of the Senate. In this case, of course, we have Trump, and with the majority of the Senate, he has no problem doing whatever he wants to do to undermine the unions. So now it comes the good part, because, this is not about just talking. This is about providing detailed information. Some of it is our gut feeling. Some of it is facts, our facts. So we will not provide facts concerning Trump's attack on the National Labor Relations Board that governs all the unions' concerns, all the unions' grievances. So President Trump, on January 28th, just a little bit after he got re-elected, fired 3 top officials at the board. So he fired the National Labor Relations Board General Counsel, Jennifer Abruzzo, and the acting GC, Jessica Ruther, and he also fired Winnie Wilcox, which was the first Black woman to serve on the board. So what happens, of course, there were some legal action taken by the dismissed members, but unfortunately were unsuccessful. Consequently, the board currently lacks a quorum, which according to the National Labor Relations Board Act, needs a minimum 3 members to make decisions. So now the board is left with 2 members.
So the board that started out with 5 members. So that way, even if 2 agree on one and 2 disagree, there's always going to be one to make a decision. So
absolutely
everything is done in good timing, and there's no waiting for it or anything. They rule the National Labor Relations Board.
Well, what doesn't make any sense? These people are appointed by the president. Of course, Biden appointed some of these people there. And I can see Biden and the Trump don't see eye to eye. So the first thing that Trump wanted to do is fire the people that Biden hired.
So
you know what? It's politics. Fine. I can accept that. But why not replace them? Why leave the National Labor Relations Board stranded with 2 people with no ability to make decisions? No ability. So which means that the employer can do no wrong, because the union has no ability to refer any grievance to the board.
And it's not about stripping them of power. It's stripping the system of the guidelines that were set to deal with these situations.
That was done. It's an act that was passed in 1925, which is important. And Trump is denying the fact. But as with the program goes, there is more information that will come much more clear to you. And so let us move on. So now let's take a look at the action taken by anti-union major companies. So, of course, the first one that comes in my mind, which is number 1, is Musk's SpaceX. They brought a case to federal court last year that argued the National Labor Relations Board, the structure was unconstitutional and should not be allowed to act on unfair labor practice complaint. Go figure. Now, of course, once you go to court, you start acting, you start bringing all these unfairly, this practice and everything else. It's going to take time before all this gets settled. But nevertheless, the SpaceX suit was an attempt to block the agency from moving against it for firing some employees. Of course, he was being grieved because he did something wrong, and as a result, he's fined. He's fighting the National Labor Relations Board. So 9 SpaceX workers complained they were dismissed for writing management a letter asking them to publicly condemn Musk's harmful behavior on social media. So now let's look at this letter. So in the June letter, the employees protested Musk's inappropriate, disparaging, sexually charged comments on Twitter, according to the charge document filed by the 9 former employees. So, I mean, this guy, billionaire, he thinks he can do no wrong. No wonder him and Trump go hand in hand. They're up there in the moon. What are we going to do about it? Anyway.
Well,
Gianpaolo, at the end of the day, this complaint, of course, it was seen by CNN, alleged space, discourage participation in the open letter, and restrict the employees from distributing it. And also said employees who were shown screenshots of their communication. So unbelievable. And which creates an impression among its employees that their protected, concerned activities were under surveillance.
So they would rather spend money on protecting their faults.
No, but you see, they're intimidating the worker by saying, hey, don't you dare start bad mouthing or showing this letter. We know. We have control of all your emails, everything you do, you say. We have cameras left and right. I mean, that is why unions exist, because of these people like that. that instead of being happy, making that they made lots of money and allow some of the little fortune to trickle down to the workers because they're the ones that are making money for you. I'm not gonna say no names or I'm gonna behave myself, but this is completely uncontrollable, and I do hope that the unions, we have to start over again.
Well,
Once Trump is done with all he's doing, the unions have to start over again.
Well,
we have to go back in the 1800s, Paul.
well, I remember we talked about this earlier, and
Yeah.
I really hope it doesn't get to that point because it takes a certain type of person brought up a certain way to be able to do that fight. That's why it's in history.
Well, listen, I know for
And-
the fact
and-
that
and
when the people are hungry, and they're against the wall, they got no other way to go but to fight, to
Well,
go forward.
Well, we'll see because this is going to be the ultimate test of unions. That's for sure.
Well,
So, action taken by another major employer, Amazon.
Go figure.
I'm sure you've seen them around. But
by the way,
Amazon-
Gianpaolo, not to interrupt you, but I had an account with Amazon. I canceled it. I killed it. And I know many friends of mine did the same thing. Matter of fact, a good friend of ours, I'm not going to say the name, he had an investment with Amazon. And he completely withdrew all his money, and that's it. That is it. So we should all doing the same thing. Amazon is taking our money, creating false work for people working at the very, very low wages.
It
Sorry,
seems,
Gianpaolo,
it
go
seems
ahead.
to be a growing trend and a much needed one. That's for sure. If we're going to prove a point, solidarity is the only way.
Absolutely.
So, like I said, action taken by another major employer, and we're going to talk a little bit about Amazon. So, Amazon is a major employer to respond to unfair labor practice charges by claiming that the National Labor Relations Board is unconstitutional. So, going down the same road as SpaceX, it looks like.
Yeah.
So let's look at Amazon and why they're challenging the National Labor Relations Board.
That's going to be a beauty. Yeah.
Just to give you a sense of the anti-union core that Amazon nurtures, it shows when workers at New York warehouse voted successfully to unionize in the year 2022. Nevertheless, Amazon refuses to bargain with the unions, stalling the procedures in court and spending millions on anti-union propaganda.
That is a fact.
Those millions could have went to paying the workers.
Yeah, but they actually put anti-union propaganda in their workplace, telling all kind of lies about unions and what they're all about. So it's just crazy, and those poor workers are intimidated.
Well, they have a special team. That's their job. They're dispatched just to do what.
Yeah, but look, the union is successful in organizing a company. Look what they do.
Yeah. When it's supposed to be a partnership. But anyway, another successful union drive in Quebec recently, where Amazon had tried to contest the certification of this bargaining unit and lost, made a union busting move, stating that won't happen anymore. Amazon has shut all 7 of its facilities in Quebec and will lay off 1,700 permanent employees and outsource its work to third-party companies.
Well, I mean, this is their way out. They think they can still do business by putting subcontractors, making them work. It reminds just like a Uber. Those poor guys have to provide their own car, their own money, everything. And at the end of the day, what they make is a very small portion, not even enough to sustain the expenses. And that's what Amazon is doing, is giving all the work to these non-union subcontractors, small people that take the work and deliver this money, the material around.
Oh, I'm sure everybody's seen them around. It's not like you see an Amazon truck with Amazon writing on the side of it. It's somebody rents a truck and they just go and deliver Amazon packages.
Just stop buying from Amazon. Just actually, Canadian Tire now, you can do it online. But you know what? I'm looking forward just to get out of the house and go see those nice Canadian stores and buy whatever I need there.
That's right.
No more of this laziness. That's Amazon did for me. No more for you. Okay. Go ahead, Gianpaolo.
Okay. So I do hope that the executive order issued by Trump administration, which undermines collective bargaining and the right to organize for numerous federal employees across over 30 agencies, represents its most authoritarian and anti-labor measure to date. In essence, Trump's effort to revoke the rights of individuals who oppose him constitutes a blatant attack on the foundations of democracy and the rule of law.
Absolutely. Not only against the union, but this is against the foundation of democracy and the rule that everybody put there. So this guy is just unreal. Anyway, now we're looking at presenting, Gianpaolo and I, of course, talked about this, some perspective on Trump's agenda. And this is through the scenario that we see so far. So bear with me for a second. Although I do not agree with President Trump's approach to tariff, I acknowledge the larger context in which these decisions are made. So the impact of the tariff imposed on all imports is yet to be assessed. So we don't know how that's going to work. Regardless of my personal stance, I understand that according to President Trump's vision, these measures are intended to serve the best interest of the American people. That could probably work. I don't understand because he could have gone about it in a different way, but that's Trump. So the action that Trump is taking against the National Labor Relations Board doesn't benefit the Americans, but benefits the multinational capitalists that originally took away the industry from North America to seek cheaper labor force anywhere in the world to maximize their earnings. So these are the very same people that took away all the work that we had because the middle class was getting stronger because the money was there. They were paying the money. So they decided to take the work to other country where the labor force was cheaper. And, and they did that. But now
they can raise their profits 200,
yeah,
300%.
So, and they'll be making money. So I am convinced that capitalists are attempting to recreate a low-wage workforce here in North America to revive their business after benefiting from countries that previously offered low labor cost. Many of these nations now have either stopped this practice or, as in the case of China, have enhanced their economies by adopting similar strategy to those used by the capitalists. So now China says, you know what? I don't need you guys anymore. I can do it myself. I have the cheaper labor force. I can sell the product and keep the money here. So forget about the capitalists from North America. So what they're doing now, as they return to North America, where they hold full control, unfortunately, and we've seen that, over decision-making, what is their main goal? It is to undermine the labor unions by dismantling the National Labor Relations Board, which is responsible for handling union complaints against employer. So that's what Trump is doing right now, and it's there. So therefore, consider the reason behind President Donald Trump's effort to fire 3 National Labor Relations Board members and eliminating collective bargaining rights for most federal employees. It is evident that this intention is to dismiss the strength of the union workforce by asserting that those agencies could undermine national security. That's how he went about doing this. He always talking about national security, the same way he's introducing tariff, national security. So consequently, he aims to apply complete control without the influence of unions. What do you think, Gianpaolo?
I mean, it's a good theory. It's not a good scenario, but the theory makes sense. Like, to summarize, ultimately you have a board that governs the unions and all the companies, let's say. And every time there's a grievance or anything that goes to the board, you had the five rulers, as you would say, make decisions on all grievances and everything that comes.
But listen to this, Gianpaolo. I think I'm going to go one step further. Okay, this is about my imagination. Okay, of course, this is not about the tariff to bring America strong again. This is about making more money for the capitalists. So this is what I'm imagining. Okay, So I believe the tariff serves merely as a false front to obscure their anti-union busting. So, so to me, this is almost as clear as I can see it, because he knows. I mean, with the tariff, he's going to put the world in a recession. So everything is going to go down. So which means that they're able to buy, because they got billions, to buy everything at a cheaper price. They're able to set up again their products here in America, and as a result of the recession, people will be happy to work for anything. So therefore, they're thinking of bringing back the low wages workforce to keep doing what they are accustomed to do, make money at the expense of the workers. What do you think, Jabal?
Absolutely, they can't afford to go backwards.
Am I too far off from this?
Well, no. I mean, it makes sense. If Trump wants to bring all the companies back, how can the companies come back and make the same money they were making with the cheap labor force?
But you see what I mean? The tariff are bringing the world down, and these capitalists that control the world, they're able to buy everything at the cheaper price and bring all their factory back here in North America, where they're more comfortable, because everybody else hates the Americans. They can do business nowhere now. They really broke all relation, even with us. We are friends. We are next door neighbor. We've been friends all along. But he's paying on us the same way he's doing to Mexico. He's the same way he's doing to Europe. And what does he do? He's teaming up with Russia. Wow. And, that doesn't make any sense unless they have a projection, which I hope I'm wrong, but, everything fits. Everything fits.
Well, I mean, we've talked about this on our own personal time, but one good thing that this has done is has made Canada united. We all stand on this front together. We've never been more united.
Yeah, no, the provinces finally, mind you, the Alberta premier there, she's kind of saying that the deal we got is not so bad. It's not so bad. But she doesn't understand that the tariff, even though we're not directly hit on the last, just yesterday, bottom line is we still have tariff in our products, in the steel and aluminum, and also in the cars.
Yeah.
So really, what do you mean we're not really, we should be okay? We're not okay. We should not be okay. I hope our leaders, stand up and say, at this point, gloves are off. You want to create a big problem? Let's do it. If we go down, you're coming along with us. And this is the message that we have to send to the Americans, to Mr. Trump, because the Americans made a mistake. They have to realize that themselves. And I do hope that, Trump's got 4 years on this. And I hope, I pray God that, he doesn't do any more damage than what he's doing right now. I mean, I don't know what more he can do, but you never know. So, bottom line, you're right. The provinces now have opened up. They start talking. We can do everything. We have all the resources imaginable to make this country great. Never mind USA, Canada, great. We don't need anybody else.
Canada was always a great country.
Yeah, but as long the Americans, the capitalists, are here controlling all our minerals and all the other stuff, our hands are tied with them. So this way now they're having a problem. We having a problem. We have to start dealing with. We have two oceans that we should build a pipeline that goes right through Quebec this time. I understand Quebec is okay with that. Connects to the Atlantic, and we can move all the oil from Alberta to the Atlantic and serve Europe. This way, relieve Europe from the grasp of friend of Trump, of course.
Yes.
Russians right now have Europe, on their hand because the oil in Russia has lots of oil.
Right.
So if we can provide that for them and remove Russia from the equation, it's going to be good for us, Canada, for Europe, And I hope we'll bring along United States when they get rid of that guy there. What's his name?
Oh, I'm sure you know it.
Okay.
Well, to end with that
enough
one,
for that.
we just know that the next couple of years it's going to be a big battle for the unions, and we know that they're going to come together. History tells us the people will come together and we will fight.
We're ready, but always the unions are in the upfront. Always.
Setting the precedents and setting the
Absolutely.
goals.
Whoever said anything bad about the unions, they should look at themselves in the mirror and say, why are we here? Not because government has done things for us. It's because members, people, workers have lost their life, have given their blood, their time, and all their money to be able to provide us what we have today. Even non-union people, they're benefiting from us because their wages are a little bit higher because of us, because of the unions. Gianpaolo, we could go on and on and on, but I think we have another important
We're moving
topic
along
here to talk about, which is great.
We're going to be moving along just nicely. So we're going to get on to our next topic. And it's official. Ontario's minimum wage is going up again in 2025, giving full-time workers across the province a little extra help with rising costs.
Oh, you mean the government is doing that now, eh?
Absolutely.
Wow, what do you know? I'm pretty sure we're going to get a couple dollars increase for the minimum wages.
Well, let's just have a look-see.
Okay, let's do it.
Whether you're working in retail, food service, or any other minimum wage job, this change could mean a few more bucks in your bank account every week.
Man, oh man, that helps.
You know the good old figure of speech saying few more bucks. It usually means more than a few bucks. So I wish I was wrong. So according to the latest numbers Statistics Canada just released, the Consumer Price Index, the CPI in Canada, rose 2.6% year over year in February 2025, up from 1.9% in January. That means the cost of living in Canada is on the rise, as we all know.
What else is new? It's going to go even higher now.
All you have to do is go out. I mean, don't let the gas prices fool you. So Ontario's minimum wage is reviewed once a year, although there isn't a guarantee it will increase or by how much. Under the province's Employment Standards Act, any increase is tied to the Consumer Price Index for Ontario. Assuming CPI, or Consumer Price Index, has increased for the year, the updated rate gets announced by April 1st and officially kicks in October 1st.
Why April 1st?
April Fools.
I mean, of all the days, April 1st. I mean, a good friend of mine was born on April 1st, but he was not a joke. He was actually born.
That is the truth.
Okay, let's see what what comes out from this April 1st.
Well, on this past Tuesday, April 1st, 2025, not only was our good friend born, or it was celebrated his birthday, but the Ontario government announced that the general minimum wage in the province will rise from $17.20 to, here's the few more bucks, to $17.60.
Wow, a whoopee
per
40
hour.
Cents an hour.
Per hour, yep.
Man.
So reflecting a 2.3% increase effective October 1st, 2025.
Not even now.
Not April 1st. That's the joke.
April 1st is a joke. October if you
1st,
get there.
It's a much nicer day.
Okay.
Much nicer day. You have to wait for it to really, you have to let it simmer. So the government stated that this annual adjustment is intended to ensure that wages align with inflation. So they make the decision on April 1st and know that the inflation is just going to stay put until October 1st.
You know how they make the decision, Jopo, huh?
Paper, rock, scissors?
I was going to say something else, but that one is good. That's a good one.
So moving along, it is intended to ensure that wages align with inflation. So thereby maintaining Ontario's position as having the second highest minimum wage among all Canadian provinces.
Why the second? I mean, why can't we be the first? Ontario's number one in everything. We got to be number two.
They don't want to be number one in minimum wage, it looks like.
So anyway, once the change kicks in, the minimum wage increase will mean an annual raise of about $835 for the full-time minimum wage earner working at least 40 hours a week in Ontario. That is an increase of booming $20.88 per week.
Or an extra paycheck a year.
Well, I don't think the 835. Well, do a calculation. 20
No,
times 40.
it's roughly around
that's
there.
right. Yeah. Okay. In Italy, you call it the 13th paycheck, la tredicesima. So that's what they're getting here too. Okay. So now, the intent of all this is just to, now we're going to show you the difference between what the government does for workers and what unions actually do for workers. And I'm talking about the same field because, there are some fields where workers make much more money. So let's say a MICAR, a classification under the Great Canadian Food Store and United Food Commercial Workers Union, as of July 2025, they'll be making $26.88.
Mm-hmm.
If he works at night, it's $1 more. So there is a premium, $27.88. A cashier, which is an upfront job, makes $24.25. Plus, let's not forget, many benefits. So we're not talking about just that. So benefits could easily go over $30 for no more. So bottom line, there is over $10 above the minimum wages that the union member makes over what the government is dictating. So can you imagine? So, and this is just because you have representation from workers, from the union. So if you want to look at wages in construction, Ontario, Toronto leads the wage package with $63.92 on a general factor. That's construction. So it's followed by Calgary and Edmonton with $54.99, followed by Kelowna and Vancouver and Victoria, BC with $54.24. Looking at the lowest in New Brunswick, St. John, and Moncton at $42.19, which it's way more than your minimum wages that any government put there. So now you understand why unions so critical, why unions create middle class. Because union can give you representation and they stand up. But unions is nothing else but us, the members that work together as a unit. So for some trade unions, you need a license to operate heavy equipment. I'm talking about in construction, of course, like a crane operator. My son has a crane license for it. And they're making right now $74.46 an hour. That's including the benefits and the pension, everything else. So I think their gross wage, what they bring home, it's over $55 and so on. But they get double time on weekends. And an excavator makes $69.90 an hour. And of course, double time. Then you have the travel time and all the other stuff that is added to if you have to travel a long way. So unions often advocate for policies that benefit workers, such as increases in minimum wages, workplace safety regulation, social program. So the union don't stop there. They also go and help out. They lobby the government for the other workers to make sure that their minimum wages goes up. You don't see the government lobbying that. It's the union that is lobbying for non-union people to raise the bottom line. And that's, and that is so important. Now, I brought myself some collective agreement. I'm going to show you this one here. This one, it's a huge collective agreement. This is to deal with the Farm Work Association, where you have Logo 793, the laborers, and I'm not sure if the carpets are in there too, but these are all documented. These are all articles. These are all things that have been negotiated over the years. That includes everything. And this is what the union does for you. Then, other agreement, the provincial collective agreement, same thing. All kind of, material that addresses the your rights, the wages and the benefits, everything in it. And if you think that the unions don't have a regulation, you're absolutely wrong. The unions have bylaws which are created by the members, bylaws which tells everyone how to behave. Our leaders and our workers, our members, they all have to abide by the Constitution. If you belong to an international and then there is a a constitution that the international has, and then every every sister unions outside that, they have these bylaws. So it's a democratic process. There are meetings that you go to if you wanna if you have any issues. You go to the meetings, and if you cannot talk to anybody at the union, you go to the meetings, and you will have a voice. They have to listen to you. Everything is minuted, recorded, and the person in question that you are addressing the question to has to answer, has to provide you an explanation. And this is, as I know, where many people that were voted in to represent the unions were removed because they were not living up to the standard of representing the members. So the members have a very big responsibility. Just because you elect people there, your officers, that doesn't mean that your job is done. In our situation, the members have to approve all the minutes that the official do. Everything has to be approved by the members, even though they have control of the union. But at the end of the day, it's the membership that approves everything. Finally, that is it. So it's a perfect situation. Why do companies don't like us? Why?
It's a control thing.
No, it's because of this. It's because of these collective agreements that tells them how they have to behave towards employees, towards union members. Their only work, their only responsibility is to find jobs, create jobs. Yes, they have the ability to move members around where they believe is best, they can give best production. Once you're there, unless the member does something wrong, then the employer has the right to fire him. And there is no union that can protect a member that they not behave properly. So the union is going to try to help this member that has not behaved properly by helping him with whatever problem he has. Because at the end of the day, everybody makes mistakes at least once. But we have the obligation to help him out, especially if this member has any alcohol or other problems. So they that way the union is geared to has the ability to look after the member in that form too. And the other important thing too that the unions do, you know what? Many of us that came from another country didn't come here with the qualification. We came here just with the will to work, a lot of will to work, and we did that. However, once you get into with the unions, and I can talk about the union that I belong to, so Local 793, among many others, they have training programs. They can educate you how to operate a machine. And not because they put you on a machine. There are courses, months long. In Gianpaolo, maybe you can talk about your apprenticeship that you did with the crane. Absolutely. Why don't you explain that a little bit?
Well, I went to our school in OBAC in Mooresburg.
Okay.
Where they had the facility where we could stay there and be on employment insurance while completing a course on a 6-week program on the crane, on all the fundamentals in class and outside, gaining experience and getting hours in and learning operating, getting comfortable, learning the skills. And then they send you out to work for a company where you gain more hours, and until you complete a certain amount of hours, then you go back for another term in the schooling. Where my schooling was all done in Mooresburg, but now it's done. It has we have a beautiful school in Oakville at our at the union's main office.
And there is another one being built up in
Barrie, or just north of Barrie,
or Orodonte, I think,
or Orodonte, yes.
Just before Aurelia, between Aurelia and Barrie,
about 15-20 minutes.
It's under construction right now, and that is geared to provide training for the people that live up there in the Simcoe area.
It's the door of the north right there.
That's right.
Everybody will have access.
Not only our union, there's many other unions that are doing the same thing, but our union it deals with heavy equipment, and we do train all our people. And actually, there is any members that knows how to operate one machine has the ability to apply for another course. Let's say if you are an excavator, you want to learn how to run a dozer, there we go. We have training for that as well. Any type of machine, whether it's a grader, gradle, small rubber tire, anything,
That's
anything.
right.
So
Well, most of our trades we have to be off in the wintertime when there is no work. So there's no better way to spend your winter than upgrading yourself and making yourself more versatile.
well said, Gianpaolo. Well said. I mean, the other thing that we have that I just want to bring home because the program is almost ending, and unfortunately, there is much more that we can say. But I just want you to understand something, which is very, very crucial. And I'm going to go back in history, telling you about some of the crucial work, the crucial effort that unions, workers have done. I can name my 1980 in 1872. There was a fight for the shorter work week. This is here in Toronto. 9 hours movement was an international phenomenon taking place in Canada between January and June 1872. So that's the early stage. So it took a long time. It took a lot of guts because unions were not even recognized at the time. In 1919, we're talking about the Winnipeg General Strike, where we saw the Bloody Saturdays, where 30,000 workers, 30,000 strikers, they brought the economy down, for 6 weeks. And unfortunately, at that time, the government on horses, along with some hired guns from the employer, they killed a couple, strikers. So, and we can go on and on and on. But if you want to talk about the birth of an employment insurance, how did that come up? I mean, not because the government decided, let's give something to the worker. The union again. The union did that, during the economic depression in the 29, 39. That's when the unions put this together, and it was something because at that time what they used to do, they used to send you to this camp and pay you whatever, and you were not allowed to go anywhere. So there is and this is from Vancouver. So to demonstrate and to bring this action right to Ottawa, a lot of people from Vancouver, by hitching by train or walking, they made their way almost to Ottawa to speak to the prime minister there. But they were stopped by the RCMP somewhere along the road and send them back. And but that movement showed you that the people had enough, and they wanted to get something more tangible to be able to survive. And this is how the employment insurance came up. So there was the 1945 the Windsor Force strike. 99-day strike from September 19 to December 19. 11,000 employees of Windsor and the area they strike down Ontario Ford Company. So this way to be recognized. So and there is much more. I'm saying this because I want you to understand that all this effort that was done, it has been done by those heroes. That's the way I call it. Could be lost. Why? Because somebody like Trump right now is doing that. So I want everybody to remember that unless you stop them now by unifying all the unions and supporting all the unions to fight this guy, we're gonna go back to those days where we have to go in the street and fight these guys, with bare hands, fighting against them with all the ladies, whatever they have, to undermine the unions. So this is, there is much more, Gianpaolo. I don't know. Do you want to add anything else to
Well,
this?
just the importance of those documents that you were showing. It's not written in ink; it's written in blood. Every single thing in there was fought for and negotiated and striked on, and those are the roots that go back to the beginning days of of all the unions.
Absolutely right. I've been to many picket lines, and I understand to some degree, but I could never imagine those people, fighting the government and hire guns by the employers.
Well,
I mean, that takes a lot of guts.
Fighting and not being scared, fighting and believing what you're fighting in, and knowing it's not just good for you; it's good for the future. Caring
Gianpaolo,
that much for what you do.
Gianpaolo, I think we put our heart out there tonight, and I hope we send a strong message to our listeners. Unfortunately, we're approaching the conclusion of our program,
Yes.
and we would like to share our final thoughts. So, but Gianpaolo, why don't you start?
Well, my final thoughts are, like we keep mentioning, the next couple of years are going to be testing the unions and the memberships. Everybody just needs to stick together and fight together and know what's right and keep what's right. We don't want to go backwards.
Well said, Gianpaolo. So we should express our sincere appreciation to our dedicated listeners for their continued support. It is our hope that you found the Labor News program to be informative and that the topic addressed this evening were of interest to you. Thank you, Marcella Flores Mondolongo, for your technical support. Father Hernan Astudillo for his dedication. And let's not forget our founder, Cavaliere Fortunato, for his vision. Program is that television presents a singular image to all, while radio countless images within of many. I love you not only for what you are and when I'm with you. Thank you for listening. Please tune in next. We will have a very special show for you. This is
And Gianpaolo Monti.
wishing you
Wonders we have made